Right. I mean, the primary reason that I've stuck with single, there's two reasons. Two reasons that I've stuck with single bow. Number one is that it's always been kind of my identity as a competitor, is to do what I do and be myself, and that's what I try to teach my students to do. Create your own style, be yourself, that's what'll make you.
Hi, this is Emily, and this is episode 183 of the SportMartialArts.com Minute, covering Saturday, February 22nd, 2020. If you love sport karate competition, this is the show for you. The clock is ticking, so let's get started. Take aim and get ready for the 2020 Battle of Atlanta. On Friday at the event, you can compete in 4 different sparring divisions for only $60 for all of them. What's the catch? You have to register for all 4. Make sure you register for Battle Mania and get ready for a day of sparring fun. Go to thebattleofatlanta.com for more information and to register, and then get to Atlanta, Georgia the weekend of June 18th through the 20th. This is a great shout out. 2 of my favorite fighters both won at the Memphis Open last weekend. Gina Thornton was the overall women's grand champion and the women's openweight champion, and Sergio Speedy Brandio, our own Brandio, also won the men's overall grand champion title and the men's openweight title. Those 2 cleaned up. Congratulations to you both. This episode is all about Jackson Rudolph. He won his 7th Warrior Cup in Chicago, Illinois, earlier in January of this year, so I put him on the spot and asked him a whole bunch of questions.
We're here with Jackson Rudolph, who just won his 7th Warrior Cup at the 2020 AK Warrior Cup. Jackson, how does it feel to have 7?
I mean, it's an honor. It's almost impossible for words to describe it. This is, winning a Warrior Cup was something that I dreamed of ever, really from coming to one of my first tournaments. I still remember I'm from Kentucky, so I would always go to the Bluegrass Nationals. I remember my first AK Warrior Cup was actually when those 2 tournaments merged for a brief period of time after Master Ken Eubanks passed away. Sensei Sharkey actually kind of took over the tournament, made it a fusion event between the AK Warrior Cup and the Bluegrass Nationals. So that was the first Warrior Cup that I attended in Louisville. I've been coming to Chicago ever since, and just seeing people win a Warrior Cup and being inspired by that, and to be able to win 1 is a dream come true, but to now have 7, I mean, it's incredible. And part of my performance tonight was dedicated as a homage to Ross Levine. The music that I used for my bow form was actually music that I'd heard Ross use before, and Ross is the all-time wins leader at the Warrior Cup. But I think 8 or 9. Ross, you'll have to get in the comments and help me out on that. But being able to be in that conversation with guys like him is an absolute honor. That's all I can say.
We're here with Jack.
The Cowboy Up kickoff looks like it's going to blow people's minds with fun. Last year's champions got great awards, and in 2020, it could be you. The event is happening May 8th and 9th, 2020 in New Braunfels, Texas. Get more information at cowboyup-karate.com. Mia Villarreal won everything at the Republic of Texas Invitational over the weekend. She looks rightfully happy about that. In this next segment with Jackson, I asked him about innovation in his division.
You have been doing this now. You've seen so much innovation in weapons, right? You've seen people coming out with double bows, triple bows, all these. You've stayed true to your single green bow. Tell me what's the mindset behind that. Why aren't you trying to do all these double bows, all these other things that everybody else is throwing out there in weapons?
Right. I mean, the primary reason that I've stuck with there's 2 reasons. 2 reasons that I've stuck with single bow. Number one is that it's always been kind of my identity as a competitor, is to do what I do and be myself, and that's what I try to teach my students to do. Create your own style, be yourself, that's what'll make you successful. And so, whether it was single bow against everybody tricking in the mid-2000s and trying to overcome tricking with my bow tricks, which fortunately I was able to do successfully, or whether it was kind of the revolution of double bow and triple bow and using different weapons in the same form, that was something that even through that phase, I wanted to be sure that I stayed true to myself. So the number one reason is just being myself and believing in who I am and in my style. And the number 2 reason is because I love what I do. I love single bow. I love the power behind it. I believe that a bow, 2 hands, you can strike a lot harder with it. And so I just really enjoy the art of doing single bow in that way. And that doesn't mean that double bow and triple bow and multi-weapons and things like that aren't innovative. Those things are innovative. They help move the sport forward. They give me a new challenge and I'm all for it. It's just not for me.
You have been doing.
Did you know Jackson is a member of the SportMartialArts.com community group on Facebook? You can be a member too. It's a great place to collaborate with your sport karate family. Join today, answer the qualifying questions, and be a part of it. Listen as Jackson tells us about his academic plans and competition plans.
Well, you're very intelligent. You are,
Some say that.
Some say you've completed college, right?
Almost. I graduate in June.
You graduate in June, and then what are your plans after college?
Oh, we're asking the big questions now. What are my
Yes.
plans after college? So I graduated from Stanford in June with a degree in human biology with the intent of going to medical school. I'm going to be taking a gap year over the course of the next year, which is a year that you take off from school. And I'm doing it for two reasons. Number one, it allows me to focus on the interview process for medical school, getting my application done, traveling around, doing the important interviews, all that. And it also gives me a chance to kind of take 1 year and really focus on the martial arts and trying to, I don't want to say go out with a bang, but as medical school approaches, the competitive career at least is in its twilight. So I take advantage of every time I step on the mat. I love what I do. I'll always be around the martial arts. I'll always teach. But everyone starts to feel more and more special now.
In 2020, is 2020 your year to be a WKC champion? It could be, and you could make it happen in Madrid, Spain, which is where the WKC World Championships will take place August 1st through the 8th. Find out more about the WKC at WKCWorld.com. And nice work to Taylin, who competed as a black belt for the first time and went home with a 3rd place and a 1st place. 2020 is going to be a big year for Jackson. Hear why in this segment.
Tell us what your goals are then for 2020.
You know, my goal every time that I show up at a martial arts tournament is leave with the weapons overall grand. That's the number one thing that I'm after, and I continue to use that mindset, regardless of if it was my first year competing or when it's going to be my last year competing. I always focus on show up to the tournament, do everything I can to win the weapons overall, and that's my goal. So short-term goals are very simple for me. Show up, do the best that I can, and try to get wins. So that's the number one thing. But obviously my big goals over the course of the season, I love winning Warrior Cups, US Open, Diamond Rings. Those are the big three. Those are the most prestigious awards. Trying to win those other NASKA tournaments as well to win the overall Grand Championship. All of those long-term goals that are tangible. But really at this stage of my career for me, I'm more focused on the intangible. Just having a great time, loving what I do, creating new memories, trying to set the bar high for all these kids that are coming up. I mean, I watched the 14 to 17 weapons runoffs earlier today, and it was insane. That runoff was Mason Bumba, Ben Jones, Dawson Holt, and oh my gosh, and Alex Mancias, the newest member of Team Paul Mitchell. They all threw down great forms. Anybody could have won that division. Mason was able to win, came out with the Warrior Cup tonight. I'm super proud of all those guys. The future is bright for the adult division coming in the next several years in the weapons category.
Tell us.
Check out this nice shout out to Sam Brumme for his performance at the Republic of Texas Invitational this past weekend. Congratulations to Sam. Now Jackson has a ton of things he's involved in, and we discussed how he juggles it all.
So you got a lot of things going on with you right now. Okay, you're doing with Century. You're doing the flow system. You just got engaged.
Yes.
You are out competing. You're doing private lessons and training. You're finishing up school. I think there's one more thing that you're doing that I remember. Oh, and you're doing a podcast.
That is true.
How are you fitting all that stuff in? I mean, how are you balancing all of that? Do you ever feel like you're overwhelmed?
I get this question a lot. Are you overwhelmed as much stuff as you do? But for me, it's all about acclimation, right? So every time that you take on a new goal, every time that you set your sights on a new passion, as long as you spend like that first couple of weeks and really focus on that one new thing and try to develop that and really get that off to a good strong start, gives you a lot more confidence with it moving forward. So the way that I juggle so many different things is I allow it to become natural to me. Oftentimes I'm waking up at 6 or 7 in the morning, going to bed at 1 or 2 a.m. from schoolwork or studying for an exam or doing work on the Jackson Rudolph podcast or doing work for the flow system in Century. So it's definitely a delicate balance, but the most important thing is that I love every single thing that I do, and so it doesn't bother me to have to stay up late and wake up early to get some of those things done because I'm passionate about it. And I guess that's the take-home message that I always spread is if you're passionate about what you do, it's something my dad always said, if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life, and that's what I'm living right now, and I couldn't be more blessed and thankful for that.
Glenn Wood gave a shout out to student Macy, who took a 3rd and 2 firsts at the Waco British Open tournament. Congratulations to her. Now let's end with some final inspirational words from Jackson.
But as we start to wrap up here, I want to say something very important about my performance tonight. Anybody that watched would notice that I didn't use any music in my intro, and I said a very specific intro, and I actually paid homage to the late, great Kevin Thompson in the introduction. I used the old introduction that he used kind of as a a last homage to him. You know, when Kevin would come and visit the Ocean State Grand Nationals over the last several years, it was an honor to be able to perform in front of him, and I dedicated several of my performances to him at the Ocean States. But with his passing being so recent, and me having grown so close to Kevin over the past few years, and Kevin serving such a great inspiration, not only to Team Paul Mitchell, not only to myself, but to the entire martial arts community in his battle with ALS. This was kind of the last hurrah where I just wanted to pay my respects one more time. Not to mention the passing just in the last 24 hours, I believe, of Steve Nasty Anderson, another one of the all-time greats. Much respect to those two, and rest in power to them. But
Jackson Rudolph is a well-spoken young man who has a lot of future plans. If any of the things said gave you inspiration or you liked it, make sure to comment about it and let him know. And be sure to like and share this episode to help get the word out. Time is up. Thanks for joining me today. See you next time on the SportMartialArts.com Minute.